Alright, so today I got something for y'all today. Now, some of you, y'all do know of a mobile game called Pokemon Unite. I have shown it up on here from time to time on the channel. Of course, I think this topic for today is going to be just about, team games in general. And then on top of that, it's also going to be part of the celebrity worship for players within these games, like Necros in Marvel Rivals, and then you got to select few players in Pokemon Unite and stuff like that. You know what I mean? With it that are play within these major orgs and everything like that. And kudos to them, by the way. To tournament players and everything else that do compete in tournaments for these games, because the dedication and cooperation that you do need to compete at a high level for these type of games, they're really high. Alright? Like, a lot of people sit there and be like, oh, it's just a team game. Like, how hard could it possibly be to get people to cooperate and be able to do whatever they do within these team games? It's a lot. It's a lot. You got to be able to cooperate and stoke a lot of emotional, and it's a lot. So I saw this post on Twitter the other day, right? And someone was complaining about like an Absol and a Comfy, you know what I mean? And they were like diving into 1v5s and all this other stuff, right? And within the post, dude was just like, I don't really pay attention to celebrities and all like that, this, that, and the third, and da 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 da. You know what I mean? And like, I was just reading the comments, and he was just like, because dude was just like, oh, the Absol like wasn't really that good. But then everybody else was in the comments was just like, that Absol is like the best jungler in NA. He's a 2-time world champion for Pokemon Unite and stuff like that. Like, and people were just like, yeah, well, he was literally the carry, so what was the Comfy gonna do with you? Like, and like, that don't make no sense. Like, yeah, they gonna pocket him over you and stuff like that. Now, granted, everybody's not gonna have like, stellar games all the time. Like, we're all human. You know what I mean? You're not gonna have a stellar game every single time. That's impossible and it's illogical. You know what I mean? But even for like world champion players and shit like that, they don't always have perfect games either. Now, what I'm trying to illustrate is, I'm not saying like, oh, like tournament players are like bad or anything. That's not it. I'm just saying, like, yeah, they have the execution and they have all the material, you know what I mean, to be great players. Obviously, it shows because they're on these organizations, they're on these teams, and they're winning tournaments and they're competing, or they're ending in like high places or with high standings within these tournaments. What I'm saying is, regardless of a player's like standing within the game, like competitive wise, no one should be exempt from critique and no one should be excused from the proverbial stake. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has flaws and everything like that. It's not, you shouldn't be like bastardized or condemned for pointing out like, mistakes and shit like that. Like, maybe the decision making may have been not have been the best, who knows, but like someone said within the comments, like, you're going up against like a Voltac or Pikachu and everything else like that, and the argument could be made like, oh, well, they could have waited for like cooldowns to, you know what I mean, go down, and then they could have like, killed the Pikachu in like one combo or some shit like that. But that would have required the Absol to rely on the, on their teammates to do something about these issues, so then that way he could do his job a little bit more sufficiently. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you can go to like the end screen, see what everyone's numbers are, and that only tells you like half of the story from those numbers. Like, and granted, the players on the other team, they were also pretty good as well, and it's like the numbers showed like they were just playing better as a team overall. You know what I mean? So, and it's like, it don't really help anybody's case saying like, oh, but you were a bad player compared to, like, don't nobody really give a fuck about that, to be honest. Like, someone who plays the game casually or like, you know, who is in like the intermediate or like expert stage, and then you gonna compare them to a pro player. Like, that don't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, someone who does not take the game as seriously and does not play it to compete in tournaments and everything like that, like, you can't really put them in the same bracket. Like, that don't make no sense, right? So it's just like, yeah, everybody should be able to be critiqued. Don't matter if you're a pro player, casual player, everybody deserves to get critiqued. You know what I mean? And it's like, not everyone's gonna have a perfect game all the time, which is fair. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's just a critique. You know what I mean? It's not like someone's out here being like, oh yeah, he asked just because of, you know what I mean, because he don't win every game. Like, no, that's not the case. Because then you'll have other instances where, because the only reason I bring that up is because we've all had, like, you know, we've had a comfy on the team that would only pocket one person and then not really help anybody else, right? But within that post, they said that the comfy was also on the Venusaur as well, that was on the team, because I think they had a Trevenant, and then the guy that made the post was the Tankaton. You know what I mean? And they were going up, I think, against like a Suicune, Psyduck, Pikachu. I forget the other two mons that they had. But that team had a lot of CC. So it's just like, you would have to heavily rely on Tinkaton and Trevenant to absorb most of that, or to, like, you know, do something about like the Pikachu, Psyduck, and the Suicune. But yeah, I mean, like, Absol is able to take out Suicune because, you know, if a good Suicune knows how to play Whirlpool and everything defensively, a lot of people don't. Like, because a lot of people, I still see them struggle with, you know, after they get level 5, they don't know what to do. Like, no, you put Powder Snow down first, then you put Whirlpool down underneath of it, and then you move Whirlpool wherever the enemies are, and then you do your boosted auto. That's how that works. Okay? Simple tip right there. Alright? Because I know there are plenty of times when I'll be on stream and I'll be like, yo, people be playing like ass or whatever, and it's just like, I'll give advice to improve on it. I'm not just saying like people is just like straight trash and then just leave it at that and then be like annoyed and everything like that. Like, no, I give it like tips and everything like that. But you know what I mean? Some people get offended. Some people, like, it's whatever, you know? But it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and critique you and then not give you a solution to it or give you a suggestion. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is, it's a suggestion. Like, if I was just bitching and complaining just to be bitching and complaining, it's a completely different story, right? But we've all had games where we had a comfy, they'd only like pocket like 1 or 2 people, when it's just like we literally could have had any other support. And then, you know what I mean, we looking at the comfy and like whoever had the comfy looking at them crazy. Like, cause we've all had those duos where they would do that shit, they just play their own game, and then they be wondering why they lose. Cause you're not built like that, my guy. I'm sorry to tell you. Sometimes the people that you queue with, they ain't really the carry that you believe that they are. And sometimes you gotta look in the mirror and really evaluate some things. But they were all solo queue in that game, so can't really get that off, you know. So before homie, you know, put that up, he probably should have API'd and checked to see if they was actually a duo or not. But you can tell if someone's a duo within the queue, if it's like, even if it's not draft, like, you'll be able to tell, because they'll be at the top. You know what I mean? Because usually when I go into a game, I'm only at the bottom if I'm with like, or I'm in the middle if I'm with like a duo or a trio. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, I'm always on the left. You know? But there are other cases where it's like games can easily go awry, like, you know, individuals' egos and tilting. Like, ego and tilting are extremely pivotal to team-based games, especially one as simple, like in both Marvel Rivals and Pokemon Unite, and probably other team games too. Like, ego and tilting can destroy like everything. Because the other day when I was streaming Pokemon Unite, right, and I was queued with a trio, I usually solo queue. So when I get in there, I'm just like, okay, and I forgot that I was supposed to be banning, because I was like, oh shit, because I'm usually never getting the ban slot. So I was trying to ban Blissey, Why would I ban Blissey? Because Blissey is one of the top enablers within the game. Therefore, I want her gone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want A pressers on the opponent's team to just go ahead and be able to do what they want for free 99. Absolutely not. I'm banning Blissey. I don't care what anyone says. I'm banning Blissey. She has to go. Alright? But I wasn't able to get to Blissey on time, so I ended up banning Clef. Which, to be fair, Clef is also a fairly decent ban pick. Because I had a Cerulege, and I believe I had an Aegislash as well. So it's like, and the person who wanted Clef was underneath me. You were the last pick. And then you didn't even have Clefable, like, pre-picked anyway. So, for majority of my team, we would have been fine. But because this person couldn't pick Clef, which I didn't know they were a Clef main, they didn't have it pre-picked or anything, they decided to ban Umbreon when I had Umbreon pre-picked, because I was just like, alright, I'll just play defender this game. But then the trio was just like, we need an attacker, so I said, say less, I'll just play Glaceon. Cool. But then the comp also was just like, oh, I could play Icy Wind into this. So another reason to get Clef out of there, because 9 out of 10 times, if they saw what the trio was picking, they would have chose Clef, and then we would have been fucked. And then, you know what I mean? But because they couldn't get Clef, they banned Umbreon, who I had pre-picked, and then they chose Sableye, and then they just chose to throw the whole game away. And I'm like, why? Like, that don't make no sense. And then people be wondering why I'll sit here and say whatever I be saying on stream, and then some people may be like, oh, but that's mean and messed up. I'm like, no, you want to know what's messed up is throwing a fucking game just because you can't play a character that you wanted to play. Like, I'm sorry to tell you. Like, that's what happens in draft games. Sometimes you're not gonna get the character that you want to play. Sound like tough shit to me. You know what I mean? So you want to take it upon yourself to throw the game just because you can't play a character that you want to play. Alright, cool. You're a dickhead. Sorry. Some motherfuckers actually do deserve to get bullied. Like, I don't approve of mindless bullying. Like, if you just bullying somebody just for whatever, like, reason, it's just like, yo, like, is there an actual reason why you feel like you should be antagonizing or saying anything to this person? Because if it's not legit, then yeah, you should probably quit. You know what I mean? But some people, they get into their own feelings, they do dumb shit, and then they want to drag everybody else down with them just because they can't do whatever they want to do. Instead, they could have just opted to do any, like, you could have went Eldegoss, who essentially almost does the same thing as Clef with AoE healing. You just wouldn't be able to get gravity, which is fine. You could have went with I forget what, I think it's Cotton Spore that she uses for the little pop-up that she does. But it's just like, yo, you could have had a workaround. Instead, you wanted to be a fucking dickhead. Sorry. Some people who decide to do some stuff like that, they deserve to get cyberbullied. You know what I mean? Sorry. I don't make the rules. You know what I mean? But it's just like a lot of people want to be like, oh, but we should be nicer to randoms and everything like that. I'm not being nice to people who decide to go on an ego trip or get way too emotional because their character gets banned. I'm sorry to tell you. Like, in 9 out of 10, motherfuckers is grown playing Pokemon Unite anyway. So you getting that emotional and everything like that over just because you can't play one character for this one game, yeah, you need to go somewhere. Get off the game for the day. Alright? Or take a break. Something. I don't know. Alright, but the moral of the story of that pretty much is to just, you know, regardless of whatever level that a player may be, they could be beginner, intermediate, expert, master, pro level, it don't matter. No one should be exempt from any type of critiquing. You know, because no one's perfect at the end of the day, right? Even the most perfect person, they still gonna find some reason to hate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could have someone who does everything perfectly by the book. People will still find a reason to hate that person. Why? I don't know. But that's just how people are. Like, you know what I mean? We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. We all have egos. We all, at some point in time, let our emotions run great. Like, you know what I mean? Run the show sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's something that we all have to work on. Like, you know, I know on my occasional time, like on occasion, I let my pettiness get the best of me. But whenever I do let my pettiness go, I at least have a space to where it's just like I can be petty right now and just do this shit, but then my team is gonna suffer at the end of it. And I don't want my team to suffer just because somebody on the other team has been doing whatever the fuck, and now I'm just like, nah, I feel like dog walking somebody. Because there definitely do be times when motherfuckers want to take jungle and everything like that. Now I want to be petty and be like, you know what, it's time to open up shop. But gotta be calculated, gotta be smart about it. Even if you are the carry, there may be some threats over there that'll counter you. That means now you have to rely on your teammates and work better with them. That way they can go ahead, clear out those threats. That way you can go ahead and do what you need to do. You know what I mean? Swab the deck on them. You know what I mean? But you gotta be able to work as a team. The decision making has to be on point. Cohesion has to be on point. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about at the end of the day in these team-based games. But a lot of people, they let their ego, they let their emotions go crazy, and then next thing you know, they be wondering why they be losing. And then they go on this rant, and then they be humming about, oh, my randoms and my teammates is bad, and all this other stuff. When really, it'd be the same person that be complaining about it. Like, you not even trying to, like, you not being productive to the situation. You know what I mean? Like, you're not trying to create anything. Instead, you just layering destruction on top of destruction and demoralizing the team. So it's just like, who really gonna look at you for anything? Can't. Why? Because you negative. Like, ain't nobody trying to be around a negative person. Like, especially when they trying to do something. You know what I mean? If you're not gonna be positive about it, or it's like, you know what I mean? Like in Marvel Rivals, I say all the time, we all have eyes, we all have ears. If we see something that's going on, we can communicate and like put it in the chat, be like, yo, can somebody like make a switch or something like that? You know what I mean? Instead, people will sit there and make demands, and then they be wondering why they don't get whatever they want. Because one, you don't know how to talk to people. You're not asking. Alright? Like, there's a certain way you can talk to people. You know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to make this video about, like, you know, players at certain levels and everything like that, and how everyone should be allowed to critique one another no matter where they're at. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all people. You know what I mean? We all could use a little like, yo, you was doing good, but instead of doing this here, you could have did this. You know what I mean? And then y'all can have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? Because everybody's thought processes is different. Everybody goes through motions like differently. So that's all I got for y'all. You know what I mean? So enjoy the rest of y'all day. Make sure y'all stay safe, my stars. And please make sure to take care of yourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and of course spiritually. I'm out of here, and until next time, deuces.